Hello, this is Howie here with Cedar Creek Homestead. Appreciate you joining me today for this video, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a home-raised, homegrown beef. I hope you can hear me over the guineas and stuff, but I want to introduce you to our beef that we're fattening up, getting ready to butcher this year for our family, for our homestead. We usually split the beef every year with my parents, and it helps them out, and of course we use it. We don't really usually use a whole beef a year, so we split it between the two, and we usually end up giving some away to family and stuff, thinking about starting raising a couple of them, and maybe at Christmas time giving some of the beef away at Christmas, but to different family, and as we go along here. And we're just going to talk to you a little bit about homegrown, home-raised beef. And this right here, I want to introduce you to our this year's beef, and this is Chuck. And he first off, I'm going to tell you why he got picked out. His mama, one of my best cows. His daddy's one of our best bulls, and but he has influence of Brahma. Bramer, we say it Bramer here in Oklahoma, but proper I believe is Brahma influence. That's the cows that are originated from India, that have the big ears and hump on their back and stuff like that, if you're familiar with those. Well, he turned out, his mama is a white colored cow, and he turned out with this tiger. We call this tiger stripe. You can see the striping on him. But I'm going to tell you something. This does not influence the taste of the meat at all. The color of the skin does not matter. You know, I know as humans, a lot of folks make a difference in the color of the skin, but when it boils down to it, everybody still bleeds red, and there's no difference in there. And but anyway, I know there's always questions, and I've had several questions over the past year, people posting things about growing and raising their own beef, or do we sell beef? We don't sell beef yet. I have thought about selling beef, but we're not. And I'm just going to tell you my own. We may start in the future. I have thought about getting into that line of it, but one thing that's real popular is grass-fed beef. This Chuck here is not totally grass-fed. He eats grass. This winter he's had wheat to eat, green wheat growing. He's had all the hay he wants to eat and some grass, but he has been supplemented, was on chopped corn. Now he's on a mix, and underneath that layer I just poured in there a bucket of sweet feed. Now he'll eat 50 pounds of grain today, and he's on a 50 pounds a day diet. And in about 30 days, maybe 60, you can tell he's plenty fat, but I'm going to get him roly-poly fat, because I like the marbling in the meat. In your ribeye steaks, if you like ribeyes, there's fat in there. I like the fat. If you're on a keto diet, they recommend you have fat in your diet. They're not afraid of that. I have to watch my cholesterol, but actually eating a higher fat diet, less sugar, has caused my cholesterol to go down. So it's not because you eat red meat. Now, there are other things. This is not GMO free. This, I'm sure there's GMO in this feed. So if you're concerned about that, this beef would not be for you. But my personal thing is, we have had just straight grass-fed beef before, and I did not, in fact, I had one time that we couldn't hardly stand to eat it. It was just straight grass-fed. We've been spoilt, our taste buds, to grain-fed beef. American-raised beef usually fetches a prime price around the world because of the marbling and the fat. Now, some people, if you really like wild game and you like really lean meat, you wouldn't want a grain-fed. And there's nothing wrong with either one in my book. You can eat a grass-fed if you want to, except that it's personal preference. I do not like a totally grass-fed beef. Now, if it's just ground into hamburger meat, the grass-fed, totally grass-fed, I could handle that. But if it's going to be steak, I like marbling in my steak. I love steak. Steak is my #1 choice of meat. My second would be bacon, and so forth and so on. Chicken's third down the list. But I love beef, I love steak, and I love ribeye steak. Second to that would be like a T-bone, and then on down maybe a New York strip, something like that. But I prefer the ribeye. I like the little bit of fat that you get in there. I don't want a whole bunch of fat, but to me the fat gives it a good taste. And so when you fatten one out on grain, you're going to get a better marbling in the meat. The meat's going to taste better. That's my opinion. I know people that swear up and down that their grass-fed tastes the best. I have thought about raising totally grass-fed animals here, and he could have been totally grass-fed and raised them to sell to other people, because that is definitely fetches a premium price. It takes a little longer to grow those out. It takes a little bit more doing to grow them out, and but this one, for our own personal use, he's definitely going to get grain. So if somebody wanted him, and I can't say that this is GMO free. I feed him what is available here at our local markets. I don't question the GMO. I do believe there is probably some side effects of having GMO, but any kind of chemical anywhere, there's got to be. And I'm telling you, I don't think you can live a chemical-free diet anymore. If you buy fruit at the store, you're probably going to have some chemicals. If you were near a health food store where you could buy health food, we're not. We're way off. But if you were near a whole food store, you might get stuff that they claim is GMO-free. But anyway, the reason that we picked him out with this Brahma influence in him, with this tiger stripes, is because he would have brought the least amount of money at the sale barn. Around here, the cattle sales love the black-hided animals. I've ate steaks out of all of them. I can't tell any difference. And actually, I'm going to tell you, between an Angus, Limousin, Holstein, Hereford, Charolais, I don't think there's much difference in the meat. Some of your more meaty breeds like Angus, and he has got Angus influence in him, got some Charolais and Brahma, you probably get a little better marbling in your Angus, I believe, and your Limousin, of course. But it's, to me, I'll keep him for my own use because he had brought the least amount of money, and he's really gentle. I call him Chuck. Every year, last year's beef was ribeye, and this time he's Chuck. And also I'm gonna tell you about raising your own animal. It is a little bit sentimental. You know, I from day one, right after he was born, I worked him. I put this orange ear tag in his ear. I notched his ear. I put a band on him that would castrate him. I have fed him. He knows me. He's real gentle around me. I can lead him anywhere I want to. And one day we're going to lead him into the truck and we will haul him off. Now that is kind of sad. And you know, if you think about it, it can be, if you let it, it probably could get to you. But I feel like God provided the animals, put man over the animals. I believe the Bible. When God came down and walked with Abraham in the Bible, in the Old Testament, they killed a beef and they ate beef for supper. And so I believe God gave them here for us. Abraham had a beef that they were fattening. Most of the time when you read in the Bible, it appears that they, the ones that could afford to do so, had a calf. When the prodigal son come home in the New Testament, why, the daddy said, go kill the fatted calf. So I think they fed their animals grain and they got them fat and looking good back in the old days. It's something that's went on for thousands of years. And you know, probably too much meat probably has its side effects. Too much of anything is not good for you. I do feel like with him, he has had no hormones. He has been wormed, and I just wormed him again the other day with a pour-on wormer. It's hard to fatten up an animal if you're fighting against worms. I know there's people argue about even worming one, but he's never had any antibiotics. He's never had a shot of any kind of antibiotics. Only been wormed twice in his lifetime, and no hormones. You can put implants in their ears. He has never had that. Never been sick on me, so I know what I'm getting. You know, sometimes you might buy something from the supermarket and it could have been a sick animal that was butchered and turned into beef. You do not know. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I believe that has happened before. So you just never know. But I know this animal. I know what I'm getting. He's getting on up here bigger. I would like to have him 1,200 or more pounds if I can. I'd like to have him just a little bit fatter, but he's coming on there. And in another 30 days or so, and he's eating a lot of grain, and that costs money to get into him. But in the end result, I'll know what I got, and I'll be proud of him, and he'll taste good. I know some have made comments before, would we sell beef? And no, we're not selling beef this way. Now, we would sell our steers here at the farm. I just we got some that need to be sold, but they're not this big, and not he's actually a little over a year old, and that's why he's as big as he is. And I usually won't butcher one till they get about 2 years, but he'll probably be butchered at about 1.5 years old, I'd say, something like that. But I prefer to wait about 2 years of age. It seems like to me the taste is better. The steaks are bigger because they got time to grow, and they just do better. But we don't sell we'll sell our steers, of course, but they're not I can't tell you that they're totally grass-fed, nothing like that. They're just farm-raised meat, and then you have to take them somewhere and get them butchered. I have had people ask if we would sell beef to them, like butcher it and sell it, and we are not into that market right now. But there are farmers that are, and there's a bunch of them. And some of them say they're fetching a premium price. There's some sales that if you advertise as grass-fed and stuff like that, you can fetch a premium on your animals. But anyway, if you're thinking about raising your own beef, if you're a homesteader and you haven't, you know, it's one thing I'd say, I name my beefs every year, but you probably shouldn't name them. That would help you on the sentimental part of it. You know, if you're somebody that just cries at a drop of a hat, I'll just tell you, you're probably raising your own beef's not going to work. But if you're somebody that realizes that things have to happen, things have to die for others to live, it's always been that way, and you understand that, but you might not want to get too awful attached to your animals, what I'm saying, because when you do and they're gone, and for a few days it's kind of sad. I'll be a little saddened when he's gone and I'm not feeding him every day. I'll kind of be glad I'm not having to feed him every day, but yet on the other hand, he always greets me here and he's ready to go. And even I had him out with the other calves that we had weaned and for a while, but he is always one of the first ones up to the gate, and that's one reason he got picked too, is because he's gentle. We have kept some back before that were kind of wild, and even had one in here that would try to get you a few years ago. And then my son and nephew and them, they were teenagers then, and they got out here trying to ride him and pestered him, and he really got mean then, and I was afraid when I'd come in here to feed him that he was going to get me, and I had to kind of really keep an eye on him because he would stand out there and kind of shake his head. I don't like one like that. In fact, I thought the meat was tough, and probably tough because he was so wild. But this one's gentle. When we load him up, we won't have any trouble, and he'll go and make some wonderful hamburger and steaks. And in case you're wondering how we cut up our beef, when you take them somewhere to get them butchered, we take them up here to a place that we've used for a number of years. And I'll just give them a shout out. It's called White's Meat Processing. They're in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. If you're anywhere close to Fort Gibson, give them a holler, and they'd certainly take care of you. But they do a wonderful job. Their facilities are very clean and proper. I've looked over everything there, and I really like what I see. And probably the last 10 or 12 years, that's where we've taken our meat to. And they'll butcher him, and they package him. They do vacuum wrapped packaging on the steaks, and they do the hamburger. Probably everyone does this, but the hamburger is not vacuum wrapped, but it's in 1 pound bags. This is what we have. You can get it in 2, 3, 4, whatever you want, but we do 1 pound bags, because for me and my wife, usually a pound of hamburger meat will make us chili or stew or hamburgers, whatever we want. 1 pound is usually all we need. If she's making a meatloaf, she'll open up a couple of packages, or 3 or 4 if she wants the big meatloaf. But I think the 1 pound packaging is the best, and it doesn't cost you any extra to get it that way. So we do 1 pound packaging. I do steaks at 1/2 inch. We don't get any roast. Now, we may this time, because my wife wishes we had some roast. She has to buy them at the store, and she gripes because when she cooks them, the ones from the store, you get a big nice looking roast, and then it shrinks down to nothing after she's got it cooked, where a roast from one of these doesn't do that. And even though he's got corn fed and stuff, he won't be as fatty as the hamburger meat and stuff as the ones at the store. So if you like that like 70% or 80%, he's going to be more like buying a 90% hamburger meat at the store. It's going to have very little fat in it, but it will have some. So that little bit of fat to me gives you a little good flavor, better taste and stuff. But we usually don't do roast or anything. We usually don't do the tenderized steaks or nothing. We just do like what I want's the sirloin, the T-bones, and the ribeyes, and the rest all ground up in hamburger meat. And we use more hamburger probably than we do anything. There's so many recipes you can use hamburger for. Hey, anyway, I appreciate you watching today. God bless you. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have you subscribe to our channel. If you hit that little bell, it'll notify you when we put out new videos. I hope this didn't bore you to death, but I have had several questions about raising a beef at home, and this gives you a little bit of input. All you got to have is a little bit of land to raise your own beef. Or you can find you a farmer, buy you one that's pretty good size like him, bring it home, fatten it out on grain if you want to do that, or if you want it grass-fed, bring it home. If you got a little land, let it run on grass. The choices are unlimited. Hey, God bless you. We're gone.